What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we're going to answer the question of what it's like to live with a 2009 Corvette C6 Z06. We're going to go over all the positives, all the negatives, and all the things that I think you should know if you're considering buying one of these or just want to know what it's like to live with one of them. So we're going to go over the interior, the exterior, what I love, what I hate. Let's have some fun, guys. All right, so first things, for being a 2009 Chevy product, a Corvette, this thing has a lot of amenities, right? So number one is keyless entry. So put this in my pocket, don't have to worry about it. Just walk up to the car, go ahead, open the door, walk inside, and easy as that. So very easy to use, very comfortable, pretty convenient, again, for a 15-year-old car at this point. Very impressive. Obviously, as we get settled here, the positives keep on going. So the seat itself, extremely comfortable. I mean, it's like sitting in an old sofa. Just kind of sink into it, nicely bolstered. It's got a little bit of lumbar supports, and it's just such a comfortable place to be. It's got heated seats, and yes, I live in Florida, but it's very cold out here right now. It's like 40 degrees, very cold for Florida at least. And I'm glad we have some heated seats. And I mean, I'm comfortable immediately. So let's go out for a little drive. This is gonna be just a fun drive for me. And I like to do these often. This de-stresses me and just helps me kind of breathe and think a little bit better. This is why owning sports cars is so beneficial for someone like me and other car enthusiasts. Now, I know it may not seem like a big deal, but people really don't pay enough attention to the ease of getting in and out of a car and how much better it makes the whole experience go. Because the last thing you need, you know, if it's cold out and you had a rough day and you were working a lot, maybe you were working out or you were working outside and you kinked your back. It's like, well, if it's an uncomfortable car to sit in, if it's not, it doesn't have heated seats and it's cold, you know, I might just take my other car that has heated seats or something like that. So having a sports car with heated seats and the amenities, and again, very thin key that, again, I just leave in my pocket, forget about it. And the car, you know, I can lock it, I can unlock it, I can, you know, go away from it, start it, not have to worry about moving my key around. We take it for granted these days. Pretty much every car has that. But back in 2009, not every car had it. And for the C6 Z06 to have that, it's a pretty big deal, in my opinion. It makes ingress and egress a lot easier. The one thing I'll say, the one slight, you know, thing to remember is that this is still a sports car, and getting in the seat is not, you know, as easy as getting in the seat of a Accord or a Camry, but that's kind of to be expected. With that said, these seats are so comfortable, you just kind of hop in here, plant your butt in here, extremely comfortable. So as we're driving here in these country back roads and the car's warming up, one thing it's hard to forget is how good the HVAC system is in this thing. So whether it's heating it up or cooling it down, it's very efficient at getting this area, this space, to whatever temperature you want it at. It's an extremely comfortable car to drive around in, and the HVAC system is a big part of it. Again, for daily driver duties, you want a nice, comfortable HVAC system that will either cool you down if it's hot out or heat you up nicely. And it's a rare time when I have to use my heating system in any of my cars in Florida. And right now I'm using it, and man, it's just as good, if not better, at heating up the car. So HVAC system, A+. Again, things people take for granted, but in a daily driver, you don't want to be dealing with a crappy HVAC system. You want to be able to just get in, get comfortable, and enjoy the ride. You don't want to fight with the car, you know, while you're sweating or you're freezing your butt off. Something to keep in mind. Another thing to keep in mind is, as temperatures fluctuate, especially in the winter here in January, the tire pressures of your cars need to be checked, right? That's why people put nitrogen in their tires to mitigate that a little bit. But even with nitrogen-filled tires, you do have to still go check, because temperature fluctuations will increase or decrease your tire pressures, usually decrease them. And I always do that before I go out and it's a little cold out. I go out and check all the tire pressures. I got to get on the ground. It's not a big deal. But with this car, again, this is from 2009. This is an 09 C6 Z06. I go in my trip computer and I can go down to the tire pressure without having to get down on my knees and figure them out. So front tires are at 29 PSI and rear tires are at 28 PSI. A little bit low as expected, but not a deal breaker. Again, another nice thing to have when you're daily driving this car, and you just need to get somewhere and get to your place. If I work from home, but if you're working at an office 5 days a week, or you got a job site to go to, it's nice to have. It's really nice to be able to check your pressure on the go. Not everybody leaves home early to get to work. I know that for a fact. So obviously one of the big positives of daily driving a sports car like this is you get to enjoy rolling your own gears and listening to that wonderful V8 in front of you. It just sounds so good. And then when you're stopped at a stoplight, it rumbles just enough to let you know that it's a special engine. And the LS7, as we all know, is a very special engine. It's got its minor faults, in my opinion, but it's a very special engine. So it's just always a treat, right? So you don't want to drive. I mean, you can get all the things I was saying before, comfortable seats, HVAC, all that great stuff. You can get all of that on a Camry or an Accord or any SUV shipbox that you can buy these days. Has all those amenities. But the beauty of this is that this car has all those amenities, plus it's got that nice rumbling V8 under you, and you get to roll your own gears. Very few cars these days are available in manual. So to be able to buy a used C6 Z06 and roll your own gears, it's always a nice treat. I love it. As we get here towards the highway, around town, we'll talk about some of the negatives, but on the highway, I really don't think there's a better sports car for the highway. I feel like this car was basically made to pound miles on the highway and just be able to be a cruise missile down to anywhere you need to go. I mean, this thing gets up to 140, 150 miles an hour. Find an empty, desolate, let's say, nice long straight with no vehicles on it. This thing will take care of that, no problems at all. And again, why drive boring cars every day? If you're gonna drive something, make it fun, especially if you're gonna drive it every day as a daily driver. Why don't you have fun with it? The on-ramps, again, always a treat. Whenever you get to listen to that nice V8 rumble. And then it quiets back down. In fact, I do have a mild to wild switch here. So when I'm on the highway, I hit the button and it quiets right down. And now I'm back in cruise missile mode. Now, if you live like anywhere I live, it takes lots of highway miles to basically get anywhere. I have to take my highway, my main interstate highway, to basically get to any nearby city, and it's about half an hour to an hour to get to anything. And so how a car is on the highway is very important for my daily, right? For the things I do daily, pick things up, go buy some stuff, go visit some people, etc. Being on the highway is extremely important as it will be for a lot of you guys, right? If you have a commute every single day that takes you 20, 30 miles sometimes on the highway, your car needs to be good on the highway. And this, again, is amazing on the highway, just for the simple fact that it has a ton of power. It's very comfortable. HVAC system's great. Everything else I've said in the video is true and holds steady on the highway. Another really positive thing is getting great mileage on the highway. I've been able to squeak out 29 to 30 miles to the gallon on highway driving this car. That's amazing. For a daily driver, efficiency is important because you don't want to have to stop at a gas station all the time. I mean, I don't really care too much about buying gasoline, but I don't really have to stop that often in this car, especially if I'm driving on the highway. It's really nice. So I'm about 20 minutes into my drive on the highway, and a few things came to my mind that I kind of forgot to mention. Positives of this car as your daily, right? So I was listening to tunes, and while it's not going to break any records, it's not going to be the best sound system out there by any means, the sound system in this is very good. Definitely overpowers the little bit of wind noise that I hear when I turn off the radio in order to talk to you guys. It's a touchscreen radio, again, back in 2009. This is touchscreen. This has navigation built in. This has everything you want from a radio or an infotainment system today. This has. The only thing it doesn't have is Android Auto or Apple CarPlay. And if you read the news lately, Chevy's gonna go away from those anyway. So effectively, it's got everything that a future Chevrolet or GMC is going to have, which is no Apple CarPlay, but Bluetooth integration. Very important. Now, another thing is the amazing amount of storage and space back here. Because at any given time or moment, I do get texts from my wife whenever I'm out of the house saying, hey, can you pass by Walmart, Publix, any store that she finds something and pick up so-and-so, right? I don't know what that could be. Sometimes that could be bins, that could be like storage bins. She's going through some storage at our house, which is amazing. She's organizing our house to make it more efficient. And I don't have to worry about it. Everything fits back there, right? Pretty much everything fits back there. I mean, short of a 4x8 sheet of plywood or lumber, I can pretty much fit anything I want back there. I still got the front seats, put whatever I want in here. This is a very practical car. I don't have to think twice about whether or not I'm taking my Corvette out. I could just get in and drive, not have to worry about if my wife wants me to pick something up on the way back or whatever it is. Sure, no big deal. I'll put it in the back, I'll bring it home. All right, so as we head into town here, there obviously are going to be some negatives to daily driving this kind of sports car. So let's go over those negatives. And I mean, one of the biggest negatives around town is the difference in mileage, right? Your gas mileage from highway to town is ridiculous. Like you can get up to 30 on the highway. Around town, you're lucky to get 12, 14 miles to the gallon. And there's two factors here, right? So on the highway, you're basically maintaining speed, and your biggest problem on the highway is especially on the flat highways of Florida, when you're not going uphill, downhill like crazy, your biggest factor is going to be aerodynamics, and the C6 Z06 is very aerodynamic, extremely aerodynamic. I mean, if you look at it, it's very nicely shaped and very svelte. It's beautiful. Another thing is when you're stopping and going and there's a little bit of traffic and you're turning right, you're turning left, it's not a very smooth operating car. You get a lot of driveline noises, everything kind of, it's not smooth at all. I mean, I'm bucking at second gear, even if I'm trying to drive smoothly. You can tell it wasn't really made to be putting around town too much. Luckily for me, I don't really go into towns very often, so, it's not really a problem, but around town, it does suffer a lot. You could tell it's not happy. Another thing is when you're doing slower speeds, even on a colder day like today, it gets fairly warm, right? This driveline tunnel gets very warm, and you're reminded that, man, this thing gets hot. Honestly, if all you do is around town driving, like let's say, God forbid, I'd have to drive this car in New York City every single day. That would be torture for the car and for me. This car does not like that. If you've ever driven in New York City, for example, I mean, it's gridlock 24/7 there, and you're always tight turning and trying to get into tight spots, and this car is very wide. It would not be good. Another thing is, again, in New York City or anywhere, this car bottoms out everywhere. You know, the C5 had a very long front overhang, so it'd be worse than the C6. But even the C6 still has a fairly large front overhang, and whenever you're going around corners or trying to get into a driveway or something, if there's even a marginal divot in the driveway, you're gonna scrape that front lip. Now, that front lip is, I think, made to scrape before any real damage happens. It's a very inexpensive front lip to replace. But it's still a little annoying to try to avoid scraping that front lip, even though it's designed to scrape and be replaced. It's annoying to have to kind of drive around it. So that pretty much wraps it up, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope I gave you guys an idea of what it's like to own this car and drive it as your daily. Again, I don't drive my cars daily at all. I work from home, but I do have to go out often to pick things up, buy things, meet people, see people, get things done outside of my house. And when I do, I like to have fun while I'm doing it. You know, I don't always want to take my wife's SUV, my X5 or RX5. So that's why I have cars like these, to be able to go out on a drive, run some errands, get some things done. Would I always drive something like this? I mean, if I had to go around, if I had to drive in New York City or something like that, I would drive around town all the time. I would not pick this car for that. But for the things that I'm doing, I'm always going on a highway of some sort. It's excellent at what it does. Excellent at what it does. And I really don't see a sports car that's going to be better on the highway for under $100,000 than this. All right, guys, thanks for watching. I'll catch you next time. Peace.